Hi, my name is Jerry, and welcome to Do It Live podcast. We are joined by our fellow students, and we will talk about this week's highlights. So, I don't have anything scripted, planned, so I just figured we can chat. LD, what's going on?
Hey Jerry, you're looking dapper.
I appreciate that. Let's see, Michael turned on his camera. Would you want to be on the hot seat, Michael?
Not necessarily, but I'll throw it out, throw myself in the fire if necessary to keep things rolling.
I read your article about work. It was amazing.
Appreciate that. I'm trying to keep the the creative fires burning, but it was really a tribute to Bob Black and his essay called "The Abolition of Work." It's a pretty interesting piece of work, literature, thoughts. What did you think of Friday's lecture?
That might be the best lecture yet.
Is there anything in particular that stood out to you as incredibly valuable?
Yeah, let me go through my notes. Let's see. Well, first of all, like the OBS system, that was pretty cool. When he mentioned when Richard mentioned he took Dan Locke's course and how he had that integration exercise where they had to play a role, but his partner wasn't playing a role, and he, ended up crying. That was pretty visual.
Yeah, I would say that lecture for me is the one that really distinguishes autonomy and the way that Richard and Autonomy Unlimited are bringing about ethical marketing versus what everybody else thinks of as marketing or sales. We had quite a few examples of, like the movie version of what sales is. And it's certainly, like in my own experience, I feel like, what those video representations were is kind of what I think a lot of people have a aversion for when it comes to sales. It's this like high pressure, just buy it now, versus what we're learning in autonomy, which is an entirely different, where it's problem solving, it's listening for what people truly need, and educating and informing about choices. I think it's this is just the really most important piece, I think, of the difference between what we're trying to do and what's out there and what's perceived to be out there in regard to sales. It's a whole different world. And, you know, like for those of us that are entrepreneurs and for those of us that want to see autonomy grow and, you know, grow ourselves, this is really that opportunity to provide value. It's just by pointing to this and saying, there's a difference.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say I was so turned off by those movie clips I could barely stand it. And I noticed that all of these really aggressive people use a lot of cuss words. And I'm hoping that the good guys, the autonomy people, are not the kind of people who talk like that all the time, because it's very upsetting. And I know that Richard warned us that those were all going to be in there, so I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying, boy, it really drags you down after a while listening to all that over and over again. That's all. Thanks.
Hi, Agnieszka.
That was a really good point, Wendy. And I'm glad that you feel that way, because like that's the whole point of those clips, is like a visceral, no, I don't want anything to do with that. Those people, like it would be, it's like swimming with sharks. It's a very toxic environment. And like, so people stay away from a really great career because they think those are the only ways to be in that career is to act like those guys. And so that's what I'm trying to compare and contrast to separate people from those negative stereotypes, because you certainly never need to use, I've never needed to use any type of language like that to get deals done or any type of situation like, you know, it's just, yeah. So thank you for bringing note to that. And you got the point.
But what about using the fullness of the English language? I'm learning so much about language these days, and I'm learning. I have a friend with me. See, check this out. Isn't she pretty?
Hi.
Oops, my camera. I'll fix it. So, but what I was saying back in, I was chasing people with the camera and no, sure. Anyway, so what I was thinking is the language is useful and it's important, but I don't know enough about the English swear words to know why they're important, but I've learned enough about the Polish ones. Like the way those guys are using these swear words in these clips, it's with vitriol. And I think what Wendy objects to is the vitriol, not the actual swear word. But I'm just going to give you one example of the Polish one that I just learned about. That was very interesting because in Polish we have the swear word kurwa, and it's supposed to mean, you know, something about a whore or something like that. But this linguist guy actually dug deep, and he says that's not why we say that word in language. We say that because kur is the sun god, and var means to stay away, and it's to protection from the kur, like highest god protect me. But then somehow in linguistics, it was changed over time to mean something mean and nasty, but that's not what it's supposed to mean. It's supposed to mean God protect me. So I think that there's a lot of, with the swear words, there's a lot more depth than we know about.
And in Wendy's defense, the vitriol and the choice of words is inappropriate for business. And yet that's how some businesses are being run. Many businesses, many such businesses.
Well, Richard, you also made the point that the people that are the main candidates for those positions are young people that really don't have the wisdom, don't have the life experience to understand why these things are important and what the long-term ramifications of this kind of behavior leads to.
And specifically, they also pointed out the other point that's parallel to that is like, who here has a Series 7? Okay, get out. We train new brokers. We don't hire, you know, and it's them saying, we want control over how you think and act in talking to these leads 100%. And your experience other places is only going to be a detriment to whatever scam they're teaching those guys. And it's called, I think it's Boiler Room. It's a really good movie about corruption and whistleblowing, like all, you know. It's a really interesting piece, but that's the sales aspect of that Wall Street scam place that they were making fun of, caricaturizing.
I just wonder, isn't it some kind of deficit of language when you have to use the F word every other word? I mean, it
Absolutely.
seems like you have some kind of deficiency in your education.
That's what David Mamet, the screenplay, like the theater writer who wrote the stage play that got turned into a movie, that's what he's showing you. Like that room full of guys, if you watch the whole movie, they're desperate. Their lives are falling apart. They're divorced. They have hospital situations they can't take care of. There's all this stuff going on. And it just shows you that people put into a situation and they're not taught how to swim, but they're expected to swim or die, are going to do desperate things like rip off the leads from The Office. It's one of the main plots of the whole story, right? And so in any of these cases, you're looking at people who don't know how to meet their needs for themselves very well. And then it comes across as either vitriolic or needy as creepy, right? So either way, it's going to be a turnoff, and you're right to be able to sense that doesn't seem right. I don't want to have to participate in anything like that. Good, because we need people out there doing it the right way and not just saying, oh, I can use a bunch of F words, let's get this done. See, there's a difference between the bravado and actually being able to be a problem solver. And you have what it takes to be a problem solver. I could never imagine you talking to one of our clients like that, which is a good thing. And that's a
No,
good
I
thing.
couldn't.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Saying that, right?
Now, Agnieszka, she talks like a truck driver. So,
Oh no, she does not.
That's not true, but I use it very effectively. Like
she hits it back. She took it like, she didn't take it like as like she knew I was joking. So she comes back and makes a serious point from it. She's like, I'll jump off from that. Here we go. Yeah.
One time I used the F word in a conversation with a teenager I was coaching because he was having issues with school and he wasn't able to really express himself. And this was before I knew about schooling, but I still gave him a lot of freedom information. But before I could talk to him, he was just like, I don't want to talk to you. You're a stupid woman. I don't want to, like, this is stupid. Everything is stupid. And then his mother left the room and I looked at him and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And he goes, what? Your mother spent all this money to get me here and you're acting like a dick. And then he just like, and then the mother came back with tea. I'm like, oh, thank you very much for the tea. That's really great. Thank you very much. So we were talking about your child's future, right? And the kid's like, okay, I'll listen to you now.
Oh man. Goodness.
Yeah, and it was a good experience. And the kid understood what we were trying, like what the mom was trying to convey. But he wasn't going to listen unless I shook him awake.
She didn't physically shake him awake, right? I'm gonna have to.
I got right up to his face and said,
well, you proved my point, Agnieszka. There you go.
He wasn't a 17-year-old. He was 13-year-old, which made it funnier to me. But, you know, it works. It worked.
Well, and Jerry may be able to comment on this one, but
You should go to Daryl Becker's class, Agnieszka. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I was going to say in regard to kind of the language and the use of like foul language, you know, the military is certainly one of those that kind of is in that same boat where they use people that are young, impressionable, you know, essentially able to be stressed into doing things and being in the kind of desperate situations. And that language is certainly there. And, you know, like, I'm sure Jerry can attest to this, that like when he goes back to the real world or goes back to his, you know, regular neighborhood, everybody is going to notice the difference in his language skills. You know, it's been diminished.
Yeah, there's like a small percent of people that have good communication skills, but I definitely recommend going to Daryl Becker's class. Yeah, good point, Rich.
I got
I
nothing. I
don't,
was talking to my wife while you were talking. I was telling her what had just happened with Agnieszka, and I was on mute, and then I got called on, and then I had to own up to it because I could have stayed on mute and pretended like I didn't hear you, but I saw my wife laughing, and I was like, okay. I got caught not listening during the podcast for a second. Say over again, Jerry. Say, I could have pretended there was a Zoom hiccup. There's a lot of things I could have done, but I owned up to it. It's good for me. Yay, freedom. All right. So what were you saying?
I said that you put out a good point to go check out Daryl Becker's class.
Yeah, because he's teaching it live. You can see the replays from the first couple. I think he has a couple more sessions. I think it's a 6-session course. And any one of those sessions can help people pick up on, alternative ways to thoughtfully respond to stimuli. That's the gist of what it is. And yeah, so I sat in and I got some value from it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Who else has sat in on Daryl's course and gotten some value? It's part of so the snafu I made in the past week was when we made the decision, I was like, yeah, let's just offer it to graduates so we don't distract the students of season 7. And then when nobody was showing up for the meeting the other night because the email hadn't been sent or whatever happened, I just at everyone, and now everyone's got access to it. So take advantage. My mistake is your benefit. Another example where freedom wins.
Yay, freedom. Yeah. I attended. It was pretty good. But the replays, I can't get to them.
I know
Track.
I've seen the first one in Kajabi, so I know the first one is there. I don't know about the second.
All right. I got the answers to those questions. I would say my first thought was track down his shadow hosts. And then I thought, oh, we're training 2 shadow hosts on Daryl's production, Cody and Daniel. And maybe that hot potato hasn't been passed yet about the publishing the replays. This is how we work it out, though, with observations like that. Thank you for letting me know.
No problem. So I also liked it when Agnieszka pitched in. Agnieszka, would you like to say anything else?
I'm here. What would you like me to say? What are we talking about? We were just talking about Daryl Becker's course, but unfortunately I missed it. I did not go.
Touche.
But I just don't know, Rich. I think that with using all of the words in the English vocabulary, my communication has been pretty good. I don't see myself needing more courses on that. I am taking a course on Slavic shamanism, though, starting next week. That should be fun.
What is that about?
It's about feminine power versus masculine power and some science that they dug up from 2,000 years ago. I think it'll be interesting. We'll see. Back.
Is that in Acapulco?
No, it's in Poland.
Oh, is it going to be in English? Okay. You'll have to tell me
We're
then.
gonna have to rely on Agnieszka's interpretation. But nevertheless, it will be part of our
So
autonomy.
the Slavic shamanism people have been I've been really watching their YouTube videos and stuff. It's super interesting. The stuff about language that I've been learning and telling you about. So I need to do some videos because the explanation of letters is very interesting, and it does seem to work in English as well as other languages. So like what each letter actually represents, like E is for energy moving, but R is for energy stored. Like
hey, Agnieszka, I know
Yeah.
a presentation that you'd be thrilled to see. It's an Oxford Union presentation. We played a clip of it in Grand Theft World a couple weeks ago. I'm trying to remember the actor's name. I can see him now, and he was talking very similar ideas to what you've got right there. Terrence Howard, Terrance Howard, Oxford Union. He's got like a speech he does. He's going to blow your mind. He's going to tell you how, you know, hydrogen is the color yellow. He's going to make all these connections just like you were doing, and see where it goes. Glad I could remember his name.
It's because you're perfect in every way. You're just like Mary Poppins.
Scary Poppins. That's the lady that's in charge of the Department of Disinformation now.
Oh, I don't think that's the same character I'm thinking about. But as we learn from language, everything means itself and the opposite of itself as well. Did you know that?
I heard you, but I'm not sure if I know that or not.
Well, every expression or every letter of every energy that speaks of fullness also speaks of emptiness. Everything that speaks of abundance also speaks about lack, because you cannot speak abundance without mentioning or recognizing the opposite of it.
It's a fascinating hypothesis. I'd be interested in the step-by-step method by which you reach that conclusion. Is there a presentation on such things?
I could probably make one of these days. I have so many presentations I'm supposed to be making. Too many.
Wow. How can we help you prioritize?
Coming up next week, I might give you an answer to that question.
Don't live up to the procrastinator stereotype.
It has nothing to do with procrastination. It has to do with legalese.
Did you get a fresh batch of excuses in today or something? What's going on?
Projects until I have somewhere to put the money that you're going to give me for my project once I tell you about it. Okay. You know, if you come up with an idea, you're in charge of it. I am, but I other people because I need a U.S. bank account and a U.S. place to put money, which is kind of tripping me up a little bit. But
many such cases.
Doing it.
Yeah. I only had facetious answers from there, so I'll leave it.
Give a big hug and kiss your wife for me, please.
I do regularly. I'll credit you with one, though. That's good.
Like a new one, not an old used one.
I'm not used.
Yeah.
Getting one. Mother's Day is tomorrow.
Apparently.
I gotta tell her to put her earmuffs on. Keep saying it anymore. She's on this call. Loose lips sink ships. Has anyone seen war propaganda lately? Is that going on out there still? They still trying to drum up World War III?
I saw a good one about Mark Zuckerberg being a CIA agent. Am I supposed to say that? You guys can cut that out because we don't want to cancel the channel when he's saying some stupid shit.
I don't think he'd be qualified to work there.
It was quite a cute little video. I'll send it to you.
Yeah. All right, Jerry, what's the rule? Whoever's asking the questions is in control of the conversation.
Yeah. Let's see.
Next on the agenda, Mr. Snazzy looking dressed up man.
That sounds like a good question right there. What was the purpose of you dressing up as you have today?
I wanted to look good. Yeah.
And the bow tie, is that part of your particular expression of yourself, or, you know, as we've seen in the Guy Ritchie kind of clip from, you know, he considers his suit like his armor. So let's talk about your armor.
Yeah. I wanted to reach the bar that Nick had made to do it lives ago, and I was like inspired by the lecture, and I even wrote here, like I took notes, and I wrote, super big letters action, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, I'm gonna go get this tux, and I'm happy, man.
All right, so
So-
inquiring minds want to know, and it's okay either way, but is it a clip-on bow tie, or do you know how to tie a bow tie?
Oh, okay, okay. It's a clip.
All right, now, if anyone ever asks you that and you're like, it's a clip, because you don't want someone grabbing a tie around your neck and throwing you around. It's a self-defense thing. It's not because I don't know how to tie a bow tie. I know how to tie a bow tie, but this is for safety. You know, you can make light of it because there's a time and place where a clip-on bow tie is the thing to go with, especially if you're running late. You might have a real one and know how to tie it and have the best intentions, and it just doesn't come out right. That's a good time for the clip-on, right? Don't be late.
I thought it
And
was
then,
a feature,
yep.
so no angry woman can grab it and choke you with it.
well, that was my first go-to for him. Like, that's a good reason.
No woman's going to choke him when he's wearing a tux. They're going to be so excited.
Unless they're Mexican and there are two of them, in which case they'll be choking somebody.
Oh, well, we were talking. Who was it? I can't remember, but I think it was Nick. And was it you also, Jerry? We were talking about getting some additions to the autonomy marketplace, not marketplace. What is it? Where you sell the T-shirts and stuff. Nick suggested that have autonomy cufflinks, and I said a tie and with a autonomy monogram on it, and a scarf for the ladies, so that when you do it live, you can have some autonomy gear to be dressed up in. But I don't know who's going to be able to top Jerry now that he's done this tuxedo.
Well,
He's
you heard
left
me
it.
tell Agnieszka that whoever comes up with the idea is in charge of it, right? So
Oh.
you're in charge. You're in charge of
I know.
autonomy formal wear line now.
Autonomy ascot, where you tie it in the one.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh yeah.
Autonomy logo.
I'm almost old enough to wear an ascot. Let's get it working on them.
Right. But like one that has like beautifully displayed the free
kind.
Hmm.
Yeah, good. I like these. This is good.
Yeah, I mean, we could. Now I'm in charge of autonomy and autonomy dress wear.
Autonomy formal wear. It's formal wear.
Formal wear.
Yeah.
Okay.
LD has the monopoly on the informal wear with his t-shirts.
Okay.
You know, Wendy, if you are in charge of the formal wear, it would be nice to have like an autonomy brooch that I could put on like a nice black evening dress,
Yeah.
right? Where I could like say, no, this is because I'm a member of the University of Reason. Like, you know, all those Harvard and Yale people. Hey, Richard, whatever happened to the autonomy doctorate? We talked about it once before. I'd like one.
Next thing you guys are
Autonomy
gonna want
what?
class rings.
Doctorate. Why not? I mean, you know. All those Harvard people, they're like all over there with their logos, they're this, they're that, you know what I mean? They have letters behind their names. I think people in autonomy should be able to have letters too. We could just come up with some funky alphabet letter, but you know, it could be. And
With
then
shaman meanings and all. What was it? Shaman.
shaman
I
means
forget.
a man, like your own soul's connection to spirit. Shaman.
I meant the letters using what you're learning in that shaman, whatever. I can't remember what the rest of the class was that you're taking or studying. Where you were talking about letters.
There's letters that I still haven't studied. I've only studied a handful of letters, and just to learn the letter, I think it took 3 hours to learn about the letter P. So I'm still catching the lectures. There's like 300 lectures, and I've only gone a few because you know, like the letter lectures, because it's something that's pushing, something that's pulling, something that's empty, something that's full, a little hillock or a little depression. You know, there's all these meanings of letter P, and like the pushing motion, the P where it comes out, like she comes out, right? So in every letter, when you think of the letter P, you could see all these different incarnations of the letter P. And even peace.
Ah.
Anyway. Sorry, I'll maybe answer that in a year.
You have to do a course.
I would love to learn all of this, memorize all of this guy's teaching, look at it from like Spanish, French, English perspective, not just Polish, because he's sticking with Polish with some maybe Latin and some Sanskrit words, but he's not bringing in the other like actual useful languages that we use, and then bring it all together. And then they go, okay, letter A, here's what it means in this word and this word and this word in all different languages. That'd be cute. That'd be fun. Anyway.
What's going on with Cafe Rustico?
Cafe Rustico, right now we're thinking about taking it on the road for the summer. We need a little equipment. We need the said bank accounts to start fundraising because we really definitely need some fundraising happening. Starting to feel it a little bit. But yeah, no, Restoring Humanity is well on the road. And I'm hoping to get more videos on the channel so that we can start really promoting it. So that when I go on interviews and asking people for donations and stuff, we can say, look, we have this robust channel with all these videos and we're working, we're doing the good work. That's the
Yeah. I was inspired by Rich's lecture to sort of just take action with purchasing a program where I can learn how to manage YouTube and not procrastinate.
I was going to add that we did art night last night, and this is what I did. This is actually a two-part, but last night I completed it with Agnieszka's help. What do you think? Huh? Oil painting, first one.
Good job.
Job,
Nice
Mike.
job. I thought Bob Ross had a bigger hairdo. It looks like his work, but it's coming from you. Is that Bob Ross influence?
Wait a couple more years till his like hair grows out.
Did you wear? Yeah, look. Did you wear like one of those big Bob Ross wigs, those disco wigs, while you're doing that? That could be a show, dude. Painting with Mike.
No,
Deep
no,
thought.
I think Woody and Joanna got that one covered, but it's still inspiring. I still am drawing from Agnieszka's wisdom in the arts. And
Now, is
she's-
that
she's
oil
got
or
many
acrylic?
talents. That was oil, but she was actually working with acrylic last night, and I guess they're doing watercolors today.
Yeah, I mean the drying times before you can like. Did you have to wait before you could do the next thing, or that's usually like I make mistakes like that, like not waiting long enough, and then some stuff
No.
starts melding together that I thought was dry.
Yeah, there's definitely some of that. I like I said, this was a two-part thing. I kind of did the base like a couple weeks ago, and then we did some finishing up, and there was some blending issues that Agnieszka helped me with. But yeah, I think it's, art is definitely something that kind of expands the mind, and that's certainly something we're after. And and it's a great way to relax too.
Well, anytime you're doing something that you haven't done like tens of thousands of times, like your brain has to focus on what you're doing, and that means it can, shuts out the rest of what's going on, and you got to focus. And there's those moments of meditative, calmness that happen. It's very therapeutic.
Absolutely.
Now, real
Right
quick,
down the line of
I wanted,
Cafe Rustico.
I just wanted to ask Jerry real quick because he said something, and I wasn't sure if I picked up on it right. Jerry, did you say you just bought a course to teach you how to manage like YouTube videos and channels and stuff like that?
No, but I want to buy a course.
Yeah. What do you think you're gonna like? How? So tell us the opportunity. Why are you thinking of doing it? How do you see it fitting in with your goals? And where are you at with the decision-making process?
Okay. So my goal right now is to know how to run YouTube, and this might just go completely astray, but Michael actually also told me that it would be a good idea to spread, pretty much talk about Cafe Rusico, as in like promoting it from word of mouth.
Well, we were talking about some different ways of marketing opportunities, and I just happened to, Richard, you're aware of Terry Brock. He did an interview with a guy that has written a couple books on word of mouth marketing, and I was talking to him about, or he used this example of a business that didn't really have a great deal of social media presence. But what they did is it was a hamburger joint, and like every 20th customer, they would give them like a deck of cards, or I guess every customer, when they got to the cash register, they would give them a deck of cards and they'd pick out a card, and like every 20th one was like a free meal. And then the stipulation was is that they had to post it on their social media. So they'd take a picture of them with their free meal at this at this uh, at this restaurant, this new restaurant. And lo and behold, essentially they were letting their customers do the social media for them. And it was a kind of enhanced word of mouth model that was incredibly effective.
All right, so that's a good idea.
But the difference between that and the Cafe Rustica is that Cafe Rustica doesn't charge money for anything. So we cannot increase sales by giving anybody anything free because we give everything free already, right? We have a donation cap and we hope to God that people will actually leave some money. But most
So
of the
you have
time,
an anti-business business model.
exactly. But most of the time, even the millionaires don't leave money. Now,
Yeah, I've done that before. Yeah.
some of them come back and give us gifts later. I think it maybe all evens out in the end, whatever. But the initial purchasing of the stuff has to be done by somebody with some money. So my idea is to get the social media robust, so I can go on an interview circuit and explain what we're doing here, what our goals are, what our plans are, and how we're going to restore humanity one person at a time. And then bring that Restore Humanity project into funding. We already have an LLC in the States, whatever the right letters are, whatever, non-charitable, non-profit organization. We'll be able to put money there next week, but I would like to get some donations so that we can actually breathe and maybe even buy a piece of land, hopefully, which is not that expensive here.
Well,
wouldn't it be easier just to charge for coffee and do marketing?
But I don't sell coffee. I sell experiences. I sell connections.
That's fine. It can be a club. You can come here and have all the coffee you want. And there's a monthly fee. Yeah.
I was thinking about an overcharge because some people last year were pretty nasty, and I was wishing that every time they came in, they would give me some money. It would stop me from wanting to smack them up.
Yeah. I see.
But here's the beauty of this thing is that word of mouth is like 100 times more effective. And what that idea was allowing people to do is like talk to their friends and say, hey, I've been to this place and it's a good place. And that was like the conversion rate for those social media posts were off the charts in relation to the other things. And so
so they're doing that because would they do that for a place that gives things away for free? No, they're doing it for a place that charges $5 for coffee. And instead of paying $5, I can do this thing where I snap a picture. Absolutely. Here you go. Free all day. So they make people an offer. Some people would rather have their privacy and keep pay the $5. But a lot of clients would say yes to that. And you'd have social media, and you'd have to balance it with your cash flow. You don't want to give everyone, hey, we got 1,000 testimonials this week, but we can't buy more coffee. Right.
No, Agnieszka just more coffee. It's just, that's how it works. Agnieszka just
and then going to investors are going to like, well, how do I get my money back? Or how, like, what, so if you want to do charity, then is that the substantial thing that people are like, I want more people to have experiences with Agnieszka, and I'm trying to flesh out, like, you want to do something and you're doing it in a non-traditional way. So I'm just asking you a couple questions to figure out like what you haven't figured out yet.
I think that's a good idea though. Coffee is like $20 from now on, or you post the thing. So then we get like a nice $20 donation or a post that works.
Well, you might have something like, I don't know. I could picture a place where people come in the morning there might be various pastries. You might have someone there that kind of like does catering or sells some baked goods, these sort of things, right? But you have all the day's news. You got some newspapers from around the world, and people come in and they're, oh, let's read London Times or read whatever someone's not reading right now, you know. And you could have a situation where it's like quiet conversation, reading, hanging out, music, different times of day, different themes, right? There used to be this restaurant in New York, and at different times of day, it would change. It would physically change into different themes,
That's cool.
right?
But there's
So
not
you could have
community for
things
that.
like that.
That's why my whole plan is to get the farm and start creating events at the farm, and those would be paid events. Like, so the whole point of having the farm, is to provide a sanctuary for people who need to stay there for free. So I still want to give everything away for free. But when I have the farm, there is going to be coconut trees that give us income every 3 months. Also, we're going to have vacations for people like you guys who still live in the States and don't want it. Like, you know, sanctuary for people who are freedom fighters for a long time, have worked really hard, are tired, or are very old and don't really, it's not so easy for them to make money anymore, or can have issues, you know what I mean? And I would
I'm
like
taking
to
this personally.
just because someone pretends to be old and you know, made up their look, you're still my age, buddy. I still don't see you as any older than me. And just because you grew this funky beard, I mean, if I dyed my hair white and it was all fuzzy and stuff, I'd probably look your age too, but I don't. Anyway, I mean, it's
I'm not going back. I'm enjoying it too much.
get a discount at the old folks discount now. If they really knew your true age, they would kick your ass. Please. Even the cleaning lady thought you were old. People just look at the outside so shallowly. Yes, Wendy.
I
My
wanted
kids
to ask
prefer
you,
seating and parking. Go ahead, Wendy, please.
I wanted to ask Agnieszka about her copywriting history, how she got into it, and what has helped her the most. This week, I've really been impressed by Alan Stevo's copywriting for promoting his books on face masks. And it just made me wonder what it is that helps people do that kind of copywriting where they're telling a story and you're interested in reading it, and it's also very helpful. I mean, you're learning new insights about how people interact with each other, and at the end you want to buy his book. I mean, and he doesn't even talk about his book at the beginning. And so anyway, I'm just very interested in that kind of copywriting. And also when I attended the workshop for copywriting and I got to listen to Agnieszka talking, I just wanted to know more about all of her experience, because she really just hones in on these things that aren't even apparent to me, you know, when we're talking about a certain client or his needs are. She just zeroes in on that, and I'm like, how do you get there? I mean, what training have you had, or what experience?
I've had also training and experience, but the key thing about the whole copywriting is, you know, 20 years ago when I wanted to communicate something, whether verbally or in writing, I would like just spew all my ideas in sort of like a fountain manner, like, you know, and it didn't work. And then somewhere, I don't know, I figured this out or I read this somewhere, I'm not really sure, but it was something about standing on top of the mountain and screaming your very important truth, but doing it in a way that nobody can hear you. Like you're yelling too loud or too quietly, or there's wind or something, and nobody, and you're putting all this effort, all this vitriol even into communicating, but the communication is just falling and there's no ears to receive it. And so that got me just thinking about the ears and how the ears work, how the ears receiving our words work. And I mean, in personal, like when I'm emotional, I'll still be like that, right? But when I'm actually working and I'm thinking about the ears that are receiving it, what do they care about? Because it's always, what do they care about? It's not like when you go to write a piece of writing about anything for anybody, the initial thing for us is to do what we want to say. I want to say this, and I want to say this, and I want to say this. But that, and it's still, even if you know, it's so hard to get people to really understand what you're trying to say. You can say things and they'll still, their own past experience will always color everything you're saying. So really tuning into those ears and what do they want and what do they have and what kind of problems or ideas are running. And often I think about, you know, what they're, when they're falling asleep, what are they thinking about? What is the thing that's causing them stress if they're falling asleep? And then addressing that directly, as opposed to, you know, telling what you want, what you're doing. I mean, they don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about anybody but themselves, essentially. I mean, we can kid themselves and say, oh, yeah, they care, but they don't care. They care about themselves. So what will make them care more about what you're saying is talking about what they care about. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes sense. I would like to know more about how you got into copywriting and what's helped you the most. Besides, was there any practical thing other than the ears that really has made a big difference in your copywriting?
I guess I've always not liked writing, and it was always easy, right? But just the writing itself. But I used to be very extremely verbose, and I would put a lot of words and flowery words and big difficult words that half the people couldn't understand in my sentences, and I'd be very proud of them and they would please me very much. But you have to remember who you're writing for, right? And it's, yeah, how do I don't know how you get into writing. It was just something people wanted to pay for. And it seems like no matter how many books, all books I read, writing is something that people always want to pay money for. Like, you know, in the 19th century, it was love notes for your lover, and then it was emails for, you know what I mean? There were always people hired to do your writing for you. So it just depends on the century, what kind of writing. Does that answer it? You can always
Thank you. Yes.
You can always book an interview with me and ask me 100 questions if you want.
I need to do that. I will do that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, because Wendy, Agnieszka is not only a wonderful copywriter, and she has the ability to write from various audience perspectives, which is useful when people are hiring copywriters, because she just doesn't write to like one demographic. You could say, here's the demographic, and she can, you know, speak in a voice that is resonant with them. She also knows and has been trained on technical aspects of how to implement the copywriting so that businesses make money. And her being able to do either or is like, you know, she can use both engines if she needs lots of money, or if she just needs a little money, she does a little copywriting, or, hey, there's an opportunity and somebody needs technical email autoresponder, like take the copy and put it into the actual messages and time out the messages for when they send to the audiences or the prospects and what have you. So there's a whole bunch you could learn. And I would get on her Calendly, have yourself an interview. She can also help you with the sales exercise. She knows how to do all the other things, and you're going to make a wonderful friend.
Thank you.
And thank you, Wendy, because like every time you've spoken up during this broadcast of this Do It Live episode, you have sought to bring things back to like productivity and like bringing value to each other. And thank you, because that's a good reminder and a good example that you're setting. You're actually being a leader right now. And I appreciate that too. Goodness. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And the other thing I wanted to say to you, Wendy, if you want to practice some copywriting, some effective copywriting, I'm sure that I can not only share my observations with you, but Jerry would have some pieces that he might need written for his social media manager role for the Restore Humanity project. And not only Restore Humanity is a very good, you know, cause to make humanity better everywhere for everybody, but also just even writing a few posts would really help us out. Or YouTube descriptions, like, I mean, we have 2 videos up. I don't remember what their descriptions say, but you know, there's all sorts of writing that's always needed. And then once you have experience, you can tell clients that, look, I work for a Restore Humanity project, so you need to hire me too.
Okay, sounds good. And I would enjoy working with Jerry too.
He's the boss of
Great
the
team
project, the manager of the human. Restore Humanity project.
I
Great.
would love to work with
Thank
Wendy.
you. He's so cute.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Wendy.
All
Man,
these
all right.
ladies going, oh, Jerry's so cute.
Yeah.
Just,
Well,
just what every man wants to hear, that he's cute. No, I told him he was handsome right off the bat, so he's looking good. And so when nobody can top this tuxedo, goodness, you've got the #1 spot and you're keeping it, because no one can go above that unless somebody
one.
comes in king's robes and a crown, maybe. I don't know.
That's
Well-
yeah.
oh yeah.
Maybe it would be you, Wendy, seeing it with your idea. You'll come up with a ball gown and a crown next time you live.
I think the freedom community is going to throw rotten tomatoes at anybody who comes out in a regal outfit.
Everybody can celebrate their own inner, being whoever they choose to be.
Rob, what's going on? How you been?
I've been pretty good. Been real busy, work, and went to New York City last weekend. Saw the cherry blossoms in Central Park. It's beautiful. It's a good time. And last night I got invited to a last-minute bachelor party. Started at 2:00, and we went a bunch of places: casino, steakhouse, Brazilian steakhouse, where they just keep bringing you different kinds of meat until you pop. Then we went to a playoff basketball game, 76ers and Miami Heat. And after that, that's the limo service ended when we got dropped off at the game. We came out of the game and it was raining and we had to catch a train and stand in line in the rain, but it was an awesome night either way. So that's what I've been up to. And then the daily grind of work and trying to organize my new team and set projects with tasks, deadlines, and milestone kind of things. So I think I'm planning a graduation party for my daughter. She is getting her associate's degree and got accepted into a psychology program. So we're going to celebrate her next Friday. So ordering some food today, trying to make a list, do all that stuff, and then clean my house and get everything ready because the party's going to be here. I think I got about 30 people coming. So that ought to be fun. And I got to make my Pork Fest travel arrangements where I'm going to stay. And I'm looking forward to meeting the AUTONOMY crew in person and having a good time. So that's what I'm up to.
That's awesome. Pork Fest does look fun this year.
It'll be my first one, so I'm looking forward to it. Not to mention getting a chance to meet all the or see all the faces in person that can travel there.
You're gonna be cooking there?
Yeah, I think so. I used to do restaurant work many years ago, and I was pretty damn good at it. So I think I could probably still jump right back in, pick up where I left off.
Yeah. You'll see David, Rich, maybe LD. Let's see. I'm gonna put somebody on the spot. My bad. It's gonna be Lisa. Is that your wife, Rich, or is that Lisa Manfred? Yeah, anyways, who else is going to Pork Fest?
Fun.
I wish.
Yeah, it's a little far for Agnieszka or Jerry to make it. Coming from Japan, it's too far.
I was feeling sorry for myself because it was so far for me, but then I realized I just had their bros and who was the other dude that was here from Autonomy for Acapulco, so we shouldn't be too like, you know, selfish.
See, we had Howard. Howard was here.
Oh yeah, Howard. No, but I wasn't meaning Howard. Howard, I'm very familiar with. It was the other dude, the health guy, the one that Leah works with. I forget his name. I'm sorry. But anyway, we had a bunch of autonomy people here all at once, and it was lovely. It's always nice when a bunch of autonomy people get together. Part of my Restore Humanity plan is after I buy the big land is to have a big autonomy get together, like, you know, on a regular basis, maybe more often than once a year. Because why wouldn't you guys come down? Like once the flights get to normal and everything is back to normal, people can come down to Acapulco a couple times a year, I'm sure.
Whatever that normal thing is you're describing.
The flights are still high, the prices are high, but I'm sure it's not gonna last forever. And if not, if that's the case, we'll just come up with an autonomy airline and fly ourselves. No, I'm gonna have to build an airline.
I think we've got some plans in place in regard to that. Kind of a
We're talking about
transportation
this flight
slash.
going 3 hours north now, you know. We're talking about a whole airline. I don't know.
Seaplane.
Maybe
Talking about
balloons.
seaplane.
We'll send people in balloons.
Kind of a fantasy island thing.
Or maybe
Uh,
an autonomy cruise ship that goes up
there
and
you
down
go.
the
That's
coast.
another one.
And then we can cross the Panama Canal and go the other coast the next year.
An autonomy world cruise. That
That's
sounds like
right.
a possibility. Then we
I
can
come
get
out to the
everybody-
airstrip. Can I come out to the airstrip with your mic and say, the plane, boss?
Of course. Of course, you gotta have that.
How is Mike the boss? I'm the boss.
All right, Agnieszka. I'll come and follow you out there.
I just did my Enneagram and it said I was the dictator. So, you know.
The dictator.
I was just gonna add something about Cafe Rustica. There's always these, Agnieszka has got a whole bunch of talents that she never lets anybody else know about, but she's able to make all kinds of different drinks and mixes of things that have all these kind of healthy benefits and so forth. This morning we had a new sauce that was incredible, and every day there's some kind of new concoction that no one ever really says much about, but these are all things that if you're here you get to experience. If you're not, it's just and that's why we need this kind of media exposure, some kind of exposure that we can get some of that stuff out there, because there is a lot of value here that is kind of going under the radar at the moment.
But you know, the sad thing is that even though we make all this magical food and drink here and people are welcome any day and they don't even have to pay, people still want their ham sandwiches and, you know, pasta with red sauce. What
Yeah,
can I-
and
I'm
as
not
far
interested.
as basic foods, just beans and rice, even beans and rice here taste great.
I think just being in a place where you can grow your own food year round and not have to even worry about storing stuff. Well, I'm sure you still would want to store stuff for those rainy days, but being where I'm at in the Northeast, New Jersey, there's a growing season outside, and then you have to figure something else out.
Yeah,
Trying to figure that out.
that's another, I think as far as the reason to come to Acapulco is, it is a tribute to abundance, because there's just abundance everywhere. And, like the idea that, we have a food crisis when there's 300,000 plus edible plants on the planet. And, most people know about 30 or 40 of them, and that's one of the things that, like, for Acapulqueños, and certainly as you get further away from kind of civilization, you find that a lot of those plants are just, like, they're dealing with them, they're using them, they're mixing them into things, and they're incredibly, tasty. And the only reason that we have these 30 or 40, vegetables and fruits that we're all familiar with is because they're commoditizable, that they're easily stored and transportable. It isn't about the taste, and so a lot of these things that I do have a lot more taste and a lot more beneficial attributes have just been sitting on the side, not really being identified or cultivated. And that's certainly another opportunity here.
Also, when we have our own space where we can pick or grow vegetables, I would like to do more foraging, but here I'm not sure when they spray. This is still the city. I know it looks like a village, but it technically is still the city. The city still comes and cuts down vegetation and sprays every so many months. And so I don't want to forage in this area. Also, it's close to a port and stuff like that. But if we had our own farm, we could go into the woods and actually pick different plants and stuff. Be fun.
What was going on a couple of days ago? You said there was it felt like an earthquake in Acapulco.
We only had 100 earthquakes in the last week. It's not bad. Most of
I think
them.
that might have been the festival.
No, the festival's way worse than any earthquake, except for the one. We had one, the whole year and a half I've been here, there was one earthquake that was like significant in any way. And the rest of them, we don't even feel them, or it feels like a bus just drove by, like, and it's the way that the shelf, the stone shelf that Acapulco lives on is like this. And so any kind of movement makes it go a lot, but it's not, it doesn't do anything. But when there's a lot of out in the ocean starts going funky. And there's big waves and lots of weird brown foam on the waves and stuff like that. And when it comes down another day, it'll all go away. I think the earthquake like shakes the bottom of the ocean a lot. But it's, it's not bad. The baddest,
Listening to you talk. Oh, I'm sorry.
listening to me
I was
talk-
saying, listening to you talk about Cafe Rustico and your plans, I was wondering, do we have any kind of directory for what the different autonomy students and graduates have worked on, or projects they have or businesses they have? Because that would be really neat.
One time we had an Excel spreadsheet, and then it went to a whole new server. There was a server that had that. But I don't know whatever happened to that. And I was kind of moving to Mexico at the time the server was going on. So that's all I know.
Yeah, that was kind of part of the experience team that is kind of in a hiatus at the moment. But there was the beginnings of a kind of a database of skill sets and things that people could help with, that we did compile into a server that I'm not sure, there's probably 20 or 30 people on that data sheet.
Yeah, because this past week somebody asked in the Discord server about a real estate agent in the Virginia area. So if we had had that little directory of some kind, that would have been
Yeah, that's
helpful.
all right, Wendy. I'm going to be calling you about this. Maybe you can help me out with that one.
I'm the ideal person. I'm not the product person, I guess. But I mean, I went back into the what do you call that landing channel or page on Discord? I forget, the welcoming page. I went back through there trying to find all the season 7 students, but I guess I would have to have a cutoff date or something to know, because they all just kind of run together. So I didn't know where season 7 started. Because I wanted to have a list of all the current students. But anyway, I mean the season 7 students.
It would be lovely to have a database for all the students by season with skill sets and businesses and
Yeah.
email addresses and social media and phone numbers and everything all in one. That'd be cool.
That'd be amazing.
I'm kind of doing a informal version of that with the Leo program as of late. I had Thomas Friedman on there, and then I had Agnieszka on there, and I had just recently Daniel on there, and Justin, and essentially explaining something that they're doing, a little bit of their background. So to some degree, I'm still, or at least I'm making a contribution to kind of
Yes,
creating that.
you are. And I'm glad you reminded me of that because I want to listen to that interview with Agnieszka before I schedule my interview with her. That would be great. You'll have done all that background for me.
It's weird since autonomy, now that if I Google my name, all bunch of interviews with me come up. Chris's interview from a couple years ago, a whole bunch of autonomy interviews come right up when I search for my name now. It's all good.
Yeah, do you know who the next person you're interviewing is, Michael?
At the moment, I'm actually doing a bit of a response to that Vice News thing. I got at least one guest from that feature that was that had a piece of that. I extended it out to a couple other people, but some people didn't work for their schedule. I haven't heard back from Derek, but my interest is in giving them a little bit more time because, like in Derek's case, it was like over an hour interview, and they used about a minute and a half of that total interview with him. And of course, they took the ones that sounded the least, you know, intelligent, or they tried to make it look kind of crazy, and they just kind of kept building on that kind of theme, which my interest is to to give people a little bit more time to actually explain themselves a little bit more in depth, and really facilitate at least a second, an alternative to that news piece as to what's going on in Acapulco, what's going on in Acapulco, and just not leave that as unanswered. But that's one, and then there's certainly a lot of other autonomy students that have projects out there that I would like to feature and talk to them about. So there will be more coming.
Nice to hear. Who else is going to Pork Fest?
I'm going to Pork Fest, but I wanted to follow up on what Mike was saying because I watched that clip. I really don't think it needs a response. It was so weak. It was obvious that she was sent down there with a predetermined headline, go gather footage that supports this crazy view on that situation, right? And like I don't know, like I don't think they made Derek look bad. They were trying to, but like when they had to mix an Acapulco with like, let us now take you off to the other side of the jungle, this other place, and here's some people that also we're gonna make look crazy, right? So they were trying to make a bigger point, and they just used an Acapulco to make part of that point. So I don't think it's going to deter anyone from going to an Acapulco. I mean, how many speakers? There was like 40 speakers. They didn't show any of the legit speakers, right? You know, they
Spending lady, she's totally cool. There was nothing wrong. They just cut her presentation up, so it made her look like a crazy person. But there's nothing, like, she's totally fine. It was a sham, the whole thing.
yeah, I'm sure she's a wonderful person. And you know, in the conversation, like the narration, she's like, everybody knows vaccines are safe and effective. And I was like, oh, I just felt bad for the reporter. I didn't like I see what they were trying to do, but I don't think it really negatively reflects on anyone who would seriously consider going to an Acapulco and paying $1,250 per ticket, because that's what they made it seem like. Here's some crazy scared Americans that are willing to pay exorbitant money to learn how to bend spoons. And that's not what it's about, right? And so maybe if you guys did something counter, I would do something creative and not like defensive, because that's going to put yourself in that negative mindset that they had to be in the first place. And now you're just like getting in the mud and rolling with the pig,
Yeah.
you know? But
Yeah,
if you use it as a jumping off point and be like, you know, some would have you believe X, Y, and Z. Let's now take a look at all and show some amazing stuff from over the years that's gone on, right?
Yeah.
And how much support and all these other things. And you use it as a platform, as the seed from which you grow a documentary about an Acapulco. And it's the thing that needs to be in the market and it's not there, and you can use inspired by Vice. Because at the same time they said that about you, they had a similar article last week. I don't know if you saw it, but it's like anarchists come up with abortion cocktail or whatever using the horse ulcer medicine, right? So like the same place that was making fun of people for horse paste, it was the first thing out of their mouths when they're like, oh, this might happen. Here's how to use horse ulcer medicine to achieve the same effect, right? And so like they were already like on Defiant L's, you know, showing how they talk out of both sides of their mouth, you know, and they're not really worth taking seriously. So I wouldn't put yourself in a position where you're like, we're taking what they're doing serious. I would come at it like make fun of, like, it must be wonderful to go through life with such a small perspective. You know, everything must be so simple without any details, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, I there's a couple quotes I was using as inspiration. One of them is Saint Francis of Assisi. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. And you know, right along what you were saying, Richard, you know, the guest that I've got coming is Chad. He did the Earthship project in Acapulco. And it's turned out, you know, it's a completely self-sustainable building, you know, water, power, everything. And, you know, that was his first one. And so, you know, it's quite an achievement, and it was done.
Was that in the Vice video? Because I'll say one thing. What I got from the Vice video was a better marketing idea of what an Acapulco's setting is like. I had no idea where the stage was, what, you know, because I only saw like the camera perspective of presentations in the past. But they like gave us a tour around. There's like people chilling, having drinks, and there's a pool. I was like, this is like a sales video in some ways for people who are like ignoring the Vice commentary and just looking at it for what it was, you know? Yeah. So anyway, go ahead.
I just think that like in that particular case, it is one in which, you know, like looking at what he's actually accomplished, Chad has accomplished with that project. And then he's been teaching the orphanage kids, and it's been something that's been supporting the orphanage kids, because the Earthship is something that people can rent, in kind of like an Airbnb, but the profits are going to support the orphanage.
And they didn't mention that part either. How
Yeah,
much?
amazing, huh?
Never mentioned the orphanage at all. Actually had some photos from the orphanage in the movie without mentioning it. It was weird. But I think that the whole,
go ahead.
Sorry, Rob.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that I think that a lot of people who are coming to Cafe Rustica during Anarchapulco are saying that Anarchapulco is a plastic experience and that there was a lot of flashy stuff, but there wasn't all that much content. Like the lectures were good, but out of the lectures, it was loud, it was flashy, it was expensive food that was just like, it was very much tailored to the rich man's tastes. And a lot of people were coming here for a bowl of soup and a cup of coffee just to chill out and talk about poetry or do some guitar playing or just be human, like among humanity, like just connect with fellow humans. And apparently that's the real thing that was missing from Anarchapulco this year, was the ability to connect with others on a deep level. And that's what Cafe Rustica. And some people actually came for Anarchapulco and didn't go to Anarchapulco, just stayed outside in the other supporting events, part of Agorapulco, where Agorapulco is a very robust event that's not talked about. And we have.
Yeah, I think that's the opportunity that we have, is to distinguish and kind of come out of the shadow of Anarchapulco with like Agorapulco and Respirar Acapulco and Cafe Rustico. All these things are opportunities to distinguish from just the Anarchapulco moniker.
Did you guys have a good crowd for the Agoraphobe or Agorapulco?
Yeah, we were like 30 people here the whole time. We had 7 people staying in a house, and I remind you, it's a 4-bedroom. And there were people sleeping outside on the roof, in the hammocks outside, in a tent on the patio. We had, guests for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day.
That's cool.
Had a lady helping because, like, between lady and my partner, they were doing all the cooking, and I was helping as much as I can with water and sauce and things like that. But yeah, a lot. And Michael is the hero of the dishes and the water supply. Out here, he would die upstairs long ago.
I'm just a humble servant.
I've never been out of water since we moved into this house. Between you and back then when we had helpers, Cuba, you guys would get all the water. Before we even ran out of water, there was always water. I think one time we ran out of water. So,
So what do you guys have to do? What do you guys have to do with your water supply down there to keep yourself from getting, the continuous runs?
It's just garrafons of water, those big 4-gallon, whatever.
20 liter bottle of potable water that we get from a local source here. And then, as far as the running water in the house, we've got a water tank on the roof that's supplied by basically garden hoses, and keeping those maintained is something else that I do.
Cool.
Garden hoses come from a hole in the fence where the city has the thing that makes water, I think, and it goes and fills the tank on the roof and supplies water for gardening and stuff.
That's cool. How big is the land that you guys have with your house?
I would say it's probably maybe like a 1/4 acre. The total footprint of the corner of the block.
Okay, so you guys don't have a whole lot of room to be growing stuff or anything.
Well, there's plenty of space. There's a pool and there's kind of a courtyard.
We could fill the pool with earth. Like if we were to buy this house, we would probably convert the pool into a garden. Absolutely, fill that all in with nice good earth and put something useful in it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's got its drainage and everything. You know what I mean? It's perfect. On the bottom, there's a drain hole, so it can never be too wet or filled with water.
Is the real estate in Mexico going up like it is in America?
I am definitely seeing some indications that prices are going up in Acapulco. I'm sure it is everywhere else, but you know, for Acapulco, that's something that's rather unusual. And but I do feel like this is you know, Acapulco's been down for 30, 40 years. So they've withstood a lot of economic warfare. And you know, for me, it's the bottom of the market, or it has been the bottom of the market in the last 5 or 10 years. So it's a exceptional real estate opportunity, in my opinion. But that's just you know, because there's other things here that make it much more valuable because of the quality of life, not just because of you know, real estate location and stuff.
What type of rules do they have about foreigners owning land?
You know, there's the official version that says foreigners can't own land, but there's ways around that.
I've seen a few things that are working down in, you know, Central America, South American countries, where you buy into like a teak forest,
Yeah,
and once you get the investment, you can get residence. Some, you know, I think
Yeah.
Nicaragua might actually give you citizenship. It's one of the countries that will give you citizenship, and another one will just let you be like a resident as long as you're, you know, invested into the country.
yeah. You know, Mexico is absolutely the best when it comes to that kind of thing. I mean, you know, there's really very few restrictions on becoming a resident. I think it's probably in the range of about $500 or $600 to establish your kind of temporary residency here. And then like
Mhm.
4 years here, you can basically file for your permanent residency. So it's, you know, incredibly cheap. And, you know, Mexico is like no other country in Latin America because it is, it has its own distinct kind of flavor. And it is, you know, many of the people here look at the United States and look at their own government and see their own government as a puppet government. So it's quite a bit different than most of the rest of Latin America. I don't know if there's anywhere else in the world that is like Mexico.
Yeah, I'm
And then
when
the
I
idea that the family is like the number one, you know, that adherence to family as being the number one authority is incredible.
that's a good thing, because in America they're trying to split the family and turn the kids against the parents and make everybody into communists, I guess would be the easiest thing to say. Now that they've, you know, officially put the Ministry of Truth in charge of making sure that the official narrative is the only thing that gets out there under penalty of who knows what. These lunatics are just putting their foot down on the pedal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's another thing that it's, you know, Mexico is like a matriarchal society. And that too is another kind of element that puts it in kind of opposition to, you know, the kind of the Western world, you know, mentality and attitude.
It's very different in Gregor than Canada and the US. Very different feeling just walking in. But Rob, I wanted to remind you that houses are not owned by humans. And because they're not owned by humans, if the corporation that you represent is a citizen of a different country, you can always create a local corporation to incorporate yours or to represent your actual humanity. And then you can buy it because then you're a local. So it's nothing
wow.
to do you are. Incorporation is incorporation, whether it's your birth certificate or another incorporation will work the same for buying property.
There's another, you know, actually that's another autonomy student that's, you know, Bobby Boyce and his BCTC project, but the idea of kind of creating another jurisdiction under another authority is something else that I'm really interested in, you know, creating here in Mexico and Acapulco in particular. But it's one in which his project is one that you can create everywhere in the world and kind of create this alternative jurisdiction that, you know, kind of establishes a trust that then people can be a part of, and their property can essentially be registered within that trust, which is under a different jurisdiction. It's an interesting concept. I think it's very doable, but it's something that we're working on.
It would be nice to have an escape to get out of the States with some land to do your own farming. They don't have any crazy restrictions on animals. I was talking to Marcin, and he was telling me in the EU, you basically can't own livestock of any kind unless you pay like $20,000 for special equipment and permits to maintain it. And
death by regulation. And I think that's the problem with the Western world, is that this allegiance to the, you know, government authorities is gonna.
Yeah, he said there's
like
there's some holdout gypsies that live out in the forest that stay away, but for the most part, you can't have a fire in your backyard anymore. You can't do anything the EU tells them. So
you're allowed to have the livestock, but you're not allowed to kill it. In order to kill it, you have to take it to a government facility and pay the fee and the fine and the other fee and the fee and the fee and the fee and the fee, and transport it there and back and make sure it's done by a doctor, and thousands of dollars later, it's not worth the meat.
You could have just bought the meat cheaper. Oh, wow. It's they're trying to put a stranglehold on things. And I just wonder like how soon it is till they start moving down into places like Mexico and trying to do the same shit. I don't know. I guess it depends on how many people and how much of a threat it is to the power system, if they even bother you. But the people who don't want to leave you alone just don't tend to leave you alone.
The egregor in Mexico is very strong and very, very female-centered, very family-centered. I think it's difficult to grab in here. That's why there's so many women disappearances and all of that, because they're hitting on that level. I think because there is no way to really get into Mexico. It's hard. I think it's hard. I think they've been trying since the 1700s. And they got the northern part where the United States is, but they just can't seem to break through this lower Mexico that's just so strong and ancient.
Yeah, I saw like months ago that there was some small towns that had been like getting destroyed by corporations, and the local governments were working together to like rob the people of all the resources, and the people like threw them the fuck out.
Yeah, I mean, that would be another distinction, is that, you know, like in the Western world, the authorities infiltrate the locals, and in you know, southern Mexico in particular, the locals infiltrate the, you know, the central, and like they send people into the local, but before long they're infiltrated, and you know, they don't know who to trust and all that good stuff. And it's, you know, that's kind of one of their things, you know. It's almost ingrained into their culture and into their subconscious of like being that aware of those kind of things.
Well, I'm guessing they don't. I'm guessing they don't have the same type of central schooling structure to brainwash the populace and program them against their families.
They're trying to do that, but there's a lot of places that, you know, they still don't even speak Spanish. You know, there's a lot of villages in Mexico where, you know, they have their indigenous language and they don't even speak Spanish.
I need some practice on my Spanish. I was pretty decent speaking it back in my early 20s because I worked with a bunch of Mexicans and Central American guys when I was doing construction. So I had it in school. So I would try to talk to Spanish. I try to talk Spanish to them, and they'd speak English to me, and they would help me. So I did that for like a year and a half. So I got pretty good. But when you don't do it, you kind of lose it. So I catch a word here and there now.
Well, the bottom line is there's big opportunity for freedom, and I don't, even for those people that may think that it's looking pretty bleak for the freedom team, I think there's certainly a lot of resources available to people that are willing to have the courage to raise freedom to the
Well,
primary position.
it really seems like the CIA color revolution that's going on in America now is like escalating. They're releasing Supreme Court drafts to try to rile people up even more, get them to vote harder. And
Yeah, I tend to believe that they'll be dividing and conquering at every opportunity.
like I don't know, how much is like propaganda, what you see on like I guess the the local media and stuff, but
All of it. What you see on local media is 100% propaganda.
but I don't know if like their attempt to turn the vaccinated against the unvaccinated really works, or if that's just like a Twitter fucking thing, because I don't know that many people who got vaccinated who were like against the unvaccinated. And I know a ton of people.
Something about something you said earlier. You said about your Spanish and you lost your Spanish and all blah, blah, blah. The way you bring it back is you listen to Spanish radio for 3 weeks every day in your car.
Yeah, it's a good
And
plan.
the first week you won't understand anything, and that's totally fine. But then you're going to start understanding things. And the more you listen, the more you can understand things. And it'll be automatic. Your brain will do it on its own. Will open the doors that you've had there before. You just have to give it time and exposure.
How do you maintain all the languages that you know? You know, like 5 or 6, right?
It just
by, do you do that all the time? Just like,
if I feel in any language, I go and get some exposure. I listen to a video, or I read an article in it, or I do something, and the other people's words reopen the gates in my brain, and it comes back.
Another experience I have at Cafe Rustico is, I get exposure to all kinds of different kinds of music, from Slavic stuff to Moroccan music to Jamaican music. There's all kinds of those kind of things going on. That's again, that it is that mixing of cultures and mixing of the different kind of principles and thoughts from different languages. Man, Agnieszka was playing some Slavic music. I just was so impressed by like just the human effort that went into the music, and it was kind of like a group of men singing. Man, it just felt so powerful. It was amazing.
yeah, that's one of the things about places like New York City. You go up there and you see, like, I was in a park in Brooklyn, and there was pretty much like every race you could imagine represented, gay, straight, probably trans people, and everybody is hanging out with each other, and nobody has a problem with each other. And that's typically like a super ultra liberal place, and I'm sure there's the stereotypical thought police there, but generally I think without somebody trying to push for people to be divided, that people generally get along in like every walk of life. And I just wonder how much of that stuff is just propaganda, that everybody hates each other, and how much of it's really true. Because I think most people have kind of values around the same things. They love their friends, their family. They don't wish bad on people. They want to help people generally. Right. Yeah. Like every like bad thing that happens in the world, people just bend over backwards to give money and course, there's all the organizations that take advantage of that and steal all the money, like the Clinton Foundation. But
Yeah.
you know, there is genuinely good people for the most part, and separated by brainwashed ideologies. And just wish people would wake up to see their own enslavement isn't a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect example of like Acapulco. You know, we had a 7.2 earthquake, which is like one of the top 10 largest earthquakes in North America in the last 100 years or something like that, or 500 years. There was no UN supply. There was no, you know, big government effort to rescue anybody or anything like that.
So no kids got raped, you're saying?
The locals just took care of everything. You know, there was none of that stuff, you know, but like they're just not even going to take that bullshit, you know. And if you try and like raise $1 billion for earthquake relief or something like that, the locals are basically going to demand, hey, you actually got to spend some of that money here. You know, it ain't just going away, and we're not just going to roll over and say, you know, oh yeah, we got some of the money. So they didn't even try it, you know.
Well, I just wonder how people of the world buy the Klaus Schwabs and the people like that who are selling them this fake vision, where supposedly the people who have caused all the problems, the pollution, the destruction of the environment, are all of a sudden now they're going to be the ones who come in and save the day. And it's
No,
like
that's what they've always done, and they've got away with it.
They get their buzzwords of equity and equal distribution, and it's like, well, yeah, they have that over in China, and you see what they're doing to them, starving them in their own buildings.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's the plan for the future for the rest of the, you know, they're just ahead of the curve. That's their test bed.
Yeah, their rents are like skyrocketing on people in America. They're starting to like raise people's stuff like 50%, and I foresee a something coming to a head really soon.
Agreed.
But let's focus on the positive, build and sustain ourselves, because that's what the community is all about.
Yeah, I spent a few days over at Bob Podolsky's this past week, and his apartment is right under a big mango tree, and you know, the mangoes are falling out of the tree all the time and just like banging on the roof. And it, in one case, the air conditioning unit, it got hit with one of these big mangoes, and like, you know, shocked me out of my sleep because it was such a loud bang, you know. But it's just you know, like I was saying earlier, it's a reminder of the abundance that I mean, there's like food falling out of the sky constantly, you know? and the thing you got to be worried about is getting hit in the head with it, you know.
Knocked unconscious by a mango.
Have dessert.
Well, you can only make so much desserts. I mean, we have tried everything. I mean, we're making all kinds of mango stuff, but there's more than we can deal with.
Yeah, I frozen here and just sort of thaw out what I need. Just, you know, I'll have some burritos for Mexican food, taquitos, and then have some mangoes for after.
All right, Jerry, you ready to take us out of here?
Yeah. All right. Let's do this. All right. Well, that's all for this week's episode of Do It Live Autonomy podcast. Thanks for tuning in. And thank you for everyone that joined me today, along with Richard Grove for sharing his tips. And join us again next week. But first, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on YouTube so you never miss an episode. And if you want to know how you can get autonomy, go to getautonomy.info. Tell them Jerry sent you.
Great job, Jerry.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for participating. Thank you for coming, Taras. And take us out.
Good job, Jerry. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yay, we did it.
And everybody left you, poor Jerry. We still love you.
Oh, yeah. Love you guys.
Thanks,
Peace.
Jerry.
Of course.
Mike.